friends, family, and fellow geezers. Early in my marriage, when both of my in-laws were acting in what seemed to us bizarre, irrational ways, I turned to my wife in frustration and asked, "Do you suppose we all go crazy when we get older?" My father-in-law was refusing to let go of something. There were so many things he wouldn't let go of, and in this case, it probably was his financial disclosures for my wife's student aid application. My mother-in-law, meanwhile, would visit our apartment, inspect it carefully, and exclaim every few minutes, "You know what you need? You need a," fill in the blank, "toaster, wet mop, microwave, air conditioner." She was right, but we were broke, and the reminders didn't seem that helpful. And speaking of irrational, how could you explain Great Aunt Sadie, a woman of means who spoke proudly of her donations to the art museum, yet never left a reception without slipping a few cookies into her handbag? My wife and I ultimately concluded that what we were seeing was not crazy at all. It was just learned behaviors that were still in play long beyond their expiration date. Behavior that made sense at one time, but was inappropriate at present. Fast forward to today, where I may be becoming the kind of person I warned my wife about. At age 70, in other words, I find myself face to face with some irrational, beyond expiration date behaviors of my own. When I look hard at some of my odd, quirky daily habits, I am stunned to see how much of my life is consumed by what might charitably be called conserving, or less generously, scrimping. Habits like squeezing the tube hard for every last dollop of toothpaste, using a sliver of bath soap until it falls to pieces, disposing of no razor blade before its time, which is never less than 2 weeks, scraping the pot for every last morsel of leftovers, leaving no rice behind, harvesting and saving used paper clips, even though I have hundreds of new paper clips in unopened boxes, and finally, not running the dishwasher until it is totally stuffed to the gills. These are not the behaviors of a person in comfortable financial circumstances, which I am fortunate to be. These are behaviors of a person who fears scarcity and worries whether there will be enough money for groceries and rent unless every wasteful expenditure is curtailed. Since I haven't actually faced scarcity for many years, yet continue these quirky habits, it leads me to wonder where these beyond expiration date actions come from. Are they nature or nurture? DNA or DEBT? I will leave it to future scientists to determine whether my genes might have been altered by multiple generations of impoverished and landless peasantry. For now, though, I am inclined to blame it on the Great Depression. In 1930, the year after the great stock market crash, my mother was 4 and my father was 5. If they were as impressionable as most children that age, they would have absorbed the admonitions of their parents and grandparents. Waste nothing. Save everything. Reuse whatever you can. The very survival of our family hangs in the balance. And when they became parents, my parents did what most parents do when they encountered a situation for the first time. They defaulted to what they remembered hearing from their parents. Waste nothing. Save everything. Reuse whatever you can. Perhaps the survival of the family was still at stake even in the 1950s and 60s, but one might legitimately question whether that was reality or a perception, lodged in minds shaped by earlier times. Now, here I am in the 21st century, acting on impulses that were totally appropriate 91 years ago, but are clearly beyond their expiration date today. I wonder what other inappropriate voices still ricochet inside my addled brain. For more ideas about aging and aging with joy, grace, and purpose, I invite you to subscribe to the EndGame newsletter and the EndGame podcast. Both are free. Join a community of positive geezers who are all about proving that our last years can be our best years.